Okay, so this question has to do with tax rates in QuickBooks Online and Receipt Bank. So what happens, let's just go look at the tax center over here in QuickBooks Online. So QuickBooks, you should set up the tax based on your main province that you do business in. So say your main province is Ontario, you're going to have Ontario set up right here. And then you can always add tax for the additional provinces, add. So say I want to track tax in British Columbia, I'd set all my settings, yearly, accrual, okay, and I would add, it's going to add tax rates for British Columbia, okay. So what I'm going to do over here in Receipt Bank, so this question is specific, how does Receipt Bank deal with tax rates? So I'm going to come over here to more lists. Let's see, actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to come over here to connections and the integration right here. So Receipt Bank asks for a default tax rate for costs. So I do recommend you put it for the province that you are, normally do business in. In this case, let's say I normally do business in Ontario. So the default tax is going to be HST on. Now, what happens if you go to Alberta and you have a you have a receipt that only has 5%? So in this case, let me just go over here. Wait for it to load. Let's just say right here, this one, although this one's trying to say it's USD, it's not. I'm just going to change it to Canadian. So I know that I've previously said I prefer to use extracted amount. The issue is that when you use an extracted amount, it will say it will create two line items on a transaction. Let's just go to expense transaction in here. Expenses, okay. So it won't default if the extracted amount was say GST. It won't default to GST. It will default to HST. So it will say, okay, this much was allocated to HST, and the rest that was not HST is exempt right here on this line. So in that case, what you need to do is select the tax manually, GST. So if your normal province is Ontario and you have it set up in the settings for default HST on, when you do have a GST receipt, you do need to set up the tax to say GST and not extracted amount. So I hope that answers that question, clears that up for you. But that's how you have to do it. Again, that's where supplier rules come in handy, because if you have a supplier that is not inside your normal default tax, you can set up you can set their tax rate custom, and then you don't have to do that every time. But you can't use extracted amount on those ones.